So thanks again, everyone, for joining today. We're really excited to have Debbie Peterson here with us. I, as always, want to give a quick shout out to all of our WIN sponsors. We would not be able to put on events such as this without you guys. So we appreciate everything that you do for the organization. And for anyone who may not know, Debbie spoke at our conference earlier this year. We had a lot of great feedback from her session, so we're really excited to have her again with us for a webinar, move into the new year in high gear. And just to give a little bit of an introduction on Debbie, she's a dynamic speaker and consultant who helps audiences and clients harness the power of their thoughts to make a bigger impact in their careers, businesses, and lives. Through her speaking and consulting business, Debbie travels the country empowering professionals with the tools and strategies to go all in on who they are, what they do, and how they consistently show up to level up their leadership and life. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Debbie, and she is going to take over the screen share as well. So I'll switch
All
that.
right. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate
Yeah.
you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I think we are good. Thumbs up. You can see where we're at. All right, good deal. We are off and running. So, as Stephanie said, if you're in a place where you can turn on your camera and be prepared to use the chat. I'd also encourage you to either open up a Word doc or have at least a pen and a piece of paper available, because this is all about you today. It doesn't matter what I say. What matters are your answers. That's how you get the most out of this. So when it comes to moving into the new year with high gear, we're at that point right now where we're kind of chasing everything, aren't we? We've got a lot going on. And, the reality is that, isn't this what our day looks like? It's like there's a line of people outside our door and everybody wants something from us, whether it is at work and it's customers or clients or vendors that we're dealing with, or at home. It's our kids and our spouses or our families. And now we've got the holidays. So it's like we've all got a lot going on. So today, my goal is to help you cut through some of the clutter so that you can enjoy the holidays and have a plan for moving into the new year. And I'm going to take you through some prompts, and then we're going to populate the chat, because here's the deal. Some people know what is out in front of them. They're very aware. They've been thinking about it. Maybe they've been ruminating on it for a while now, but other people are like, oh, crap. I am so busy day to day, keeping all the balls in the air, keeping all the plates spinning, whatever metaphor you want to use, that they don't give themselves the space to think about the decisions they need to make. You being in this even virtual room today, you're giving yourself permission to do the thinking. So help a sister out, a brother, sister out. I don't know if we have any gentlemen on this webinar or not, but I would be curious. I'm going to say a series of statements, and what I want you to do is just keep track of how many are true for you. Just make a tally mark with a pen. How many of you work full time? Make a little tally mark if you do. How many of you have small children at home? Make a tally mark if you do. How many of you have an adult child in the home? This is what I call a spouse, a husband, a wife, a significant other. Make another tally mark. How many of you have parents that maybe you're part of that sandwich generation? You need to help them a little bit, or perhaps you got to help them a lot. Make a tally mark if that's you. How many of you give your time and talents to something that means something to you? Like you volunteer for a nonprofit, you sit on a board, you coach a team, anything like that, in addition to what you do for work. If that's you, then make another tally mark. How many of you would say that right now in your life, you're dealing, on top of all of this other stuff, you're dealing with something heavy, like a death or a divorce or a disease, just something that, man, you didn't see this coming? put another tally mark. What I'd be curious is, what is your number? And go ahead and put it in the chat. What number of tally marks did you have when I read off those statements? Okay. Yeah. 3, 5, 4, 3, 4, 5, 2. And, you know, when I do this exercise with my larger audiences, there are always very few zeros and ones. And the point is that we juggle a lot. From day to day, we juggle a lot. And the more we juggle, the more distracted we get, and we lose focus of what really matters. And this isn't just a personal issue, it can be a professional issue too, because when life gets overwhelming, and life does get overwhelming, then that clarity and focus are the first to go. And, you know, this is something that when we lose sight of what is most important, that it can start affecting other areas of our life. It can start affecting the work that we do. It can start affecting the relationships that we have. It can even start affecting our health. And let me tell you, when it comes to a health perspective, I know that because I've been in it. Back in my corporate career, I was trying to juggle everything. I was a full-time working mom outside of the home, and I was trying to get ahead at work, and I was trying to raise my family. And you know that those compete sometimes. I was trying to be perfect in every area of my life. I don't know why I thought I had to be, but it was like keeping up with the Joneses everywhere. I was trying to be the perfect size. I was trying to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife, have the perfect house. Like all of those things were so important, and I have no idea why. At the time, we are moving into a new home. That's a process. And our old home hadn't sold. So my husband quits his corporate job and starts his own company because I guess that's what you do when you're in that much debt. That meant we had two mortgages, one paycheck, and I was feeling a whole lot of stress. But here's the deal. The more stress I felt, the more it started to kind of seep into my body and start impacting my health. I was having heart palpitations. I was having numbness in my left hand. I could not get a full breath. Like my chest was so constricted, I could not get a full breath. I wasn't sleeping through the night. I was just a mess. And this long-term stress is something that it'll even go beyond the physical. And it started affecting my work performance. I mean, I was totally distracted. It started affecting the relationships that I have with people that I love, but mostly it was affecting my sense of self. I didn't know who I was. I was just lost. And that was such a scary place to be. And I remember I went to the doctor because I got wigged out, feeling the heart palpitations and the numbness and everything. I thought, I've got heart disease and I got to figure this out. So I go to the doctor and he tells me, your heart is fine, but it's stress that's impacting you physically. And I'm thinking, I paid him to tell me that. I knew I had stress, but still, it was a wake up call because by the age of 40, I'm on high blood pressure medicine. I'm on migraine medicine for these pounding headaches that I would get every day. And now I'm on anti-anxiety medicine. So I am officially mad, miserable, and medicated. And that is not where I wanted to be. I mean, it's where I had to be in the moment, but I didn't want to stay there. The interesting thing is in my life, when I go through those patches where I am off kilter, where I'm in a dark space, when things aren't going well, usually if I'm open enough and aware enough, someone or something will come along and guide me through the challenges. And at this particular time, it was a mindset training. And I remember going into this mindset training that I had been sent to, that I had an arms crossed sort of attitude. Like, what is thinking happy thoughts really going to do when my work and my life are such a mess? But what I discovered is that it wasn't what I was thinking, it was how I was thinking. And when I figured that out, everything changed. And the impact of that training on my life and in my work has turned into the work that I do today, which is to help professionals get clear on their way forward to making a bigger impact in their leadership or in their life, but without sacrificing their well being in the process. So when we carry a lot, it can get us to the point where we feel stuck or we're not going in the right direction. But here's the deal, we're chasing everything and we're not focused on the right things. And a lot of times when you chase everything, nothing works because you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and you're exhausted. So having this sort of clarity allows you to show up in the way that you want to, but without sacrificing yourself in the process. So today you're going to have an opportunity to focus on the right things. So instead of, having a reality where you're chasing everything and you're exhausted, what's on the other side of that? Because it is not about adding more to your life. For me, back then, that's what I thought. Well, if I'm not getting where I want to go, if I'm not getting ahead in my career, then something must be wrong with me. I need to be better. I need to do more. I need to show up as someone else, not who I am, because I think that's what I need to do to get ahead. But in reality, it's about having the opportunity to show up in a way that it's meaningful to you. There are things that cover you up. And we want to discover those so we're not wasting energy chasing the wrong things and not getting to where we want to go. So when I say things that cover you up, this is what I'm talking about. At work, especially in such a male dominated industry, such as collision and automotive, I mean, there are things that can influence you there. And you may think that I can't show up as who I am. I need to be someone else. I need to pretend to have a certain attitude or a certain, level of confidence, or just be someone else because that's what's expected to get ahead. And what I would say is that that's the exact opposite. Who you are at your core is your competitive advantage. And you just have to figure out how to leverage that. Think about family. Sometimes our family gives us advice or guidance, and although it's well-meaning, it's not the right advice or guidance for us. Think about friends. Well, why do you want to, why do you want to go for that promotion? Why do you want to do that in your work? You're good where you're at, you're getting a good paycheck. So instead of really supporting you the way that you need to be supporting you, they might be pulling you down a little bit, but they're only trying to help. So a lot of times we're surrounded by people that don't have our best interests at heart, but they don't realize it. They're really trying the best that they can. And that's when we need to tune into who we are. So consider social media. Everybody's living their best life, right? You don't see much of the behind the scenes. Think of magazines and movies and TVs. It is a level of existence that isn't accessible to most of us because it's not real to us. It's something that we escape to. So what helps you is to really get clarity of direction, and in a couple of ways. So today we're going to be diving into some things that are personal, diving into some things that are professional, because the days of leave your home life at home, don't bring it into work, or don't take your work home with you, leave it at the door when you walk back into your home. That ship has sailed. With COVID, with remote work, even if you don't do remote work, it has changed the landscape of how we work. And those two are blended together unless we put some really good boundaries around it. So clarity of direction allows you to tap into what is meaningful to you about who you are and about what you do and why you do it. Clarity of direction gives you a place to go when things feel uncertain. Clarity of direction allows you to know, yes, this is what I say yes to because it's a fit, or conversely, no, I'm going to say no because it's not a fit. So instead of chasing everything, clarity allows you to focus on the right things. So here's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the areas of life. And what I'd like you to do is just with a piece of paper, write 1 through 6 in a column, in a vertical column, 1 through 6. And here's what I'd like you to do. So when you see on the screen here, we have 6 generally accepted areas of life. You may think there are other areas for you, and if that is the case, then that's fine. You can just write it in if you want. But this is the 6 generally accepted areas of life. So career, whatever it is that we do to generate wealth. We earn money, we pay our bills. That is what we do for a career. Family. Family is however you define it. Family can be you and a spouse. Family can be you and your kids. Family can be you and your mom and dad and your brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. You get to define what family means to you. My definition doesn't matter. This is about you. And this is how you uncover your own answers. Health and fitness is anything that we do to improve our physical body. Relationships are generally close, intimate relationships. So perhaps a spouse, a partner, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a significant other. Generally, they're an intimate relationship like that. But if you're not in that kind of relationships, then relationships might be your best friend. So again, you get to define it according to where you are in your life. Spirituality is you being connected to whatever is bigger than you. For me, that is God. My spirituality, my relationship with God is very important to me. So it could be the creator, the universe, the oneness, the collective, whatever it is that you believe in that is a higher power or higher source, if that's the case. And then personal development is anything you do beyond um, the physical. So it's anything you do to improve yourself beyond the physical. That would be health and fitness. So personal development is learning a language or a new skill or, um, creative endeavors. Maybe it's painting or anything like that. But personal development is how you grow as a person. It's outside of the physical body. So here's what I'd like you to do now that you have those explanations. In the columns 1 through 6, I want you to think of the areas of life and I want you to put them in order of importance. How you feel they are for you. So whatever is the most important area of life to you goes in the number 1 slot. Whatever is the least important area of life for you goes in the number 6 slot, knowing that all the areas can be important, but I want you to put them in order. And just whatever comes to mind, write it down. Don't overthink it. Don't judge yourself. This isn't how you want it to be. This is how you believe it is for you. And I'm going to do it with you. All right. So if you're done with that, then what I want you to do is write 1 through 6 again in a column right next to it. And I want you to put these areas of life in order of how you spend your time. So wherever you spend the most time, that goes in the number 1 slot. Wherever you spend the least time, that goes in the number 6 slot. Again, don't judge yourself. Don't, change or beat yourself up. Just put it the way it is, and that's okay. This is just a visual for you. This is just an awareness for you. All right, if you've done that, my question to you is, where are the gaps? When you consider your first list and your second list, where are the gaps? So for instance, on my list, family is the area of life that's most important. In the list where how I spend my time, career is in the number one slot. So that means that family and career are competing with each other. So when you identify kind of what is competing in your life, then you have an opportunity to say, okay, if they're competing with each other, do I have things in place that it's actually okay? Or is this something that really bothers me? If it's something that really bothers you, you need to pay attention to it because that emotion is an indicator, dig here. You've got an opportunity to do something. So, for instance, for me, family and career, I do family dinner every weekend that I'm in town. So I travel. I travel all over the country, speaking at conferences and doing consulting for clients, professional development and leadership development. So I'm on a plane a lot. And it's like, okay, how do I keep family in the forefront when career is taking the most amount of time? Well, I have every weekend that I'm home, I have a family dinner. I have all of the family holidays. When I'm out of town, I FaceTime my little grandson, right? So, he was born during COVID. He's 4 years old. He doesn't know the difference if Dee Dee is in the room or if Dee Dee's on FaceTime. I mean, it's Dee Dee. So I go to Florida for part of the year. He loves diggers. He loves excavators and bulldozers and front loaders. And he digs in his little kinetic sand sandbox. So guess what? I bought a kinetic sand sandbox and I got an excavator and a front loader and a bulldozer and we FaceTime dig together. So, that is something that I can do to be able to bridge the gap between those two areas of life. So I'd be curious, what is competing on your list? Where are the biggest gaps? And go ahead and just type it in the chat. Usually, career is competing with something. It just depends on to what degree. So let me hear from you. What is competing on your list? Hmm. Relationships and personal development. So, Brittany, relationships is on the top of the importance, and personal development is what's competing with it. So, how do you feel about the gap between the two? Do you feel like you've got strategies in place that it's okay, or is it kind of okay? So, it's kind of out okay. That you have an opportunity to, connect with some people to see what they do. So, who are other people that maybe through your professional development efforts that perhaps have relationships, and how do they handle it? So if you've got people that are similar to you with their focus on professional development, they might have some strategies. So that's where other people can come in to be able to do it. So is it like being sent away for trainings and things like that? Your professional development?
Yeah, that'd be a lot of it.
Okay. So you're on the road for a good part of it.
Correct.
Professional development, being sent to trainings and things, because there's like this industry is just changing gangbusters. moment by moment. So, thinking about the things that you can do while you are traveling, what can you, some of the things that, like I do for my husband is I make sure I've got his favorites in the freezer, when I'm traveling so that at least he's got some homemade meals and the things that make him happy. Again, it's FaceTime. So just thinking along those ways when you're on the road, what are little things that you can do just to focus a little more energy on that gap, right? You may not resolve it, but how can you move the needle a little bit so the gap gets closer? So we've got, let's see, family and spirituality. Family members are not religious, but I am. So we have a very different worldview these days. We find common ground, but it's isolating at times. Madeline, I get you. Um, that is something that's very important to me, but that is not how my family is wired. And so, it's just knowing I do what I need to do for me. And I can't force them. I can't impose my beliefs upon them. So it's just, I let that go and just focus on what it is that I can do and how I can live my life as an example. Family and career compete. Oh, Stacy, I mean, that's a big one. Um, Especially, when you've got small children and things like that. So relationships compete with two items on time, family, and health. Okay. Yeah, it is. Again, it is not resolving the gap, but what is the area of life that is competing the most? Consolidating two homes with my fiance this last year. Oh my goodness, I am moving. Okay. I'm in the middle of it. And this whole fall has been like a whirlwind. So, I get that health and fitness and family. Health is suffering because there's not enough time in the day to take care of me. Um, and Stephanie, that is tough because you cannot, it's not sustainable. If you're pouring out of yourself to into someone else, then you're depleting yourself. It's giving from your overflow. So for any of these, a lot of times what happens is that we want to focus on everything. One of the words that I absolutely hate is work-life balance, that phrase. The reason is I studied language and I studied the language of the mind. Linguistically, when you hear the term balance, we think that things are equal, they're balanced, right? So, by virtue of terming it um, work life balance, what it's saying to us subconsciously is that all our areas of life should be balanced. Like we have to focus on everything. That is chasing everything, getting nowhere, and becoming exhausted. So I'll give you a reframe on this. And here's what I'll share with you about work life. I say harmony. I want you to think just a week or so ago we had Thanksgiving, right? And families get together. There's a lot of cooking. Me, I love to cook. And in my kitchen, I have a big dual fuel 6 burner range. It is a beast. And it makes me happy at Thanksgiving because I got all 6 burners going, right? But I cannot have everything on a high burner. I cannot have everything on the front burner. There are 6 burners, 3 in the front, 3 in the back. So when you're going through the meal, whatever's on the front burner is what you're focused on at that time. The rest has to go on a back burner. And it's not that you turn it off and it gets cold, but it's that you put a low flame under it and you just kind of keep an eye on it. So when it comes to areas of life, focusing on career and 2 others. If career is competing with something else on the other list, then, career is, hey, we got bills to pay. We got kids to send to school, right? So career is going to be one of the ones on the list. But what are the other 2 that you might want to make a little bit more effort with? And for 90 days, whatever it is that you discovered today, just put a little extra effort into just that area or those two areas. Instead of focusing on all of them, focus on the ones that mean the most. And just be curious and see what happens at the end of those 90 days. So, for instance, um, you know, family and career compete. Okay. So family, put a little more, maybe get some strategies, do something a little bit different to kind of bump up the family a little bit. Relationships, same thing. And maybe that's the two. And that's what you focus on for the next 90 days. And you just get curious about how do you feel at the end of the 90 days? What are the results? You treat it like an experiment. And then at the end of 90 days, you can switch it up and you can focus on something else. But when we exhaust ourselves is because we are focused on everything. So hopefully that is helpful. It kind of gives you an overview of your life and what is most important, which is the kind of clarity that you need to be able to move into the new year, because now you know what you're not willing to sacrifice. So that's the new year. What I want to look at now is this current year, 2024. What went well this year? And I'd like you to take a minute and just jot down some things, personal and professional. Like, what are the things that went well? Make a list of the things that you accomplished. Like, what are the things that went right? Maybe it was even something like a conversation that you've been needing to have with someone, and you finally had the conversation. You put a boundary in place. You kicked ass with a project at work. You um, worked so hard to get something renovated at home, and it's finally done. What did you accomplish? It doesn't matter if it's personal or professional. Just make a list of as many things as you can think of. Tanya, consolidating homes, man, that's an accomplishment when you're blending two homes like that. One of my accomplishments, I got to come and present to you. I got to be at the WIN conference. So out in California, that was fabulous. And I got to learn a lot. Windshields and paint, car sensors. Who knew? I'm afraid of my new car now, by the way. See, the thing is that as high performing women, we say we want to accomplish something, we go about it, we get it done, but we don't give ourselves credit. We don't even acknowledge it because we're off to the next thing. And that is defeating. So when you can capture the things that went well, that not only is motivating, but how are you going to build on it? So I want you to think about some of the things that you accomplished this year that you want to take into next year. So you've already accomplished it. So for instance, for me, health and fitness, I donated 60 pounds back to the universe. Here you go. No, thank you. I don't want it anymore. So that is something I am not willing to undo. So I'm going to build on that as I go into the new year. It's not that I'm going to donate anymore. I don't say lose weight because linguistically, when you lose something, you go looking for it. And that's not what you want to have happen in that situation. But it's not like I want to do anything more with it. I want to maintain it. So now that I've accomplished it, I don't want to let it go. What are the things in your life, personal or professional, that you're like, hey, I got this done this year. I feel really good about it. And I'm not willing to let it go. I'm going to bring that success with me into 2025. Oh my goodness. New home and you hosted Thanksgiving. A week later, or less than 2 weeks later. That is amazing. Okay, so starting with a new company, ending the year adding to the team, new family memories, wicked October with all three of my adult children and their grandmothers. Oh, geez, I don't cook. Everyone brought the food, but still having the house ready. I love to cook. That's how I show my love. So yeah, be proud of the things, no matter how small they are, but acknowledge them and then decide, what are you going to take with you into the new year? What strategies are you going to put in place? Like, so for example, for me, with my health and fitness journey, when I fly, on at least the front side of the trip, I pack my food. I have it on the plane with me, so I'm not eating crap airport food. On the backside, I try to get something ahead of time that, again, I've got something on the plane. Because otherwise, if I end up in first class, it's like, oh yeah, I'm having wine and I'm having cookies and, whatever. So I want to be able to control that. I make sure I drink my water. That is something I do every day. I make sure I've got food that I need in the house. So those are things that I put in place to put a boundary around that, to protect that. So what are you going to put in place to make sure that that goes into the new year with you? So think about that. So let's go to the dark side. And the question becomes, what didn't go well this year? Good for you, Madeline.
Oh, thank you.
When you can just let go of that, that's huge. Because you don't. Because the fact is, you are an original. You were created as an original. There is no one on this planet configured the same way as you, period. Even identical twins have differences. So we are meant to be who we are, not somebody else. And a lot of times that can trip us up when we think that we have to be a copy of someone else. Admiring someone and having, attributes that you want to adapt, well, that's different. You see someone you admire and you're like, I really like how they go about that. That's different. But when you're not being true to yourself, that's the problem.
Mhm.
So what didn't go well this year? And again, be honest with yourself. Don't judge, but just, what was a challenge? What kind of went off the rails a little bit and it didn't end up the way that you thought. I mean, it's okay because we learn something from it. So when you think about these things that didn't go very well, maybe there was, a raise you wanted or a promotion that you wanted or, some sort of a different role, and it didn't come through. Maybe something, personally that you aspire to, or you really wanted to get done this year. You wanted to pay a piece of debt off and it just didn't happen. Okay. What do you learn from it? So when you think about the things that didn't go well, if they are that important that you don't want to take them with you into the new year, then what are you going to put in place? Now that you recognize this has happened, how are you going to prevent it from happening again next year? So people-pleasing tendencies. I am with you. Lead to some boundaries being crossed, and I allowed it to happen because I didn't want to upset anyone, didn't want to make waves. I feel you. It ended in more emotional discomfort that needed to happen. Yeah. And here's the thing, that when it comes to boundaries, it's not like we have to enforce our boundaries aggressively. We can just enforce them confidently. I remember getting on a plane and walking down the aisle and getting to my seat, and someone was in my seat, double check my ticket, double check the seat, And I just said, hi, how are you doing? And he says, oh, I'm doing great. And I said, I think you're in my seat. And then I just kind of let him off. These placards are confusing. And then I stood there and waited for him to move because otherwise I would have been in the middle seat. And that's not where I had purchased my seat. So it wasn't that I got aggressive with him. I just smiled. I asked him how he was doing, but I declared that's my seat. And so, a lot of times we have to say no or not yet, or, I can't do this a service right now because of everything that I have on my plate. I appreciate you asking, and I hope to be able to help out at some point in the future. So being able to have those boundaries. Okay, it's been a rough health year with your family. Okay. Immediate parents, it's been challenging. And some of that is beyond your control, Stacy. How do you put things in place to make sure that you are cared for and others are cared for when something like this heavy is going on? Are you serving others to the point where it's really depleting to you, watching even when, it's about other people, that we're not giving too much. And a lot of times when we give too much, we start feeling resentment. And that's usually a sign that we are giving a lot more than we are receiving or what we need. Okay, how you communicate that. That's terrific. All right. So I want you to think about 1 year from now. If you were to imagine yourself 1 year from now, so it is December 2025, right? What is it that you want to see? When you picture yourself, when you picture your life, we're talking work, we're talking professional. What is it that you want to see? What is that picture? How would you describe it? Give some thought to that. What are you doing for work? What has changed at work? What has changed in your personal life? Notice maybe how you look physically. A lot of you have said, family, think about yourself as it relates to your family 1 year from now. What do you want it to be? And just jot down some ideas, because here's what happens is we say, I want things to be different, but that doesn't really mean anything. That's not a target. You got to name it to claim it. So even go back to those areas of life, and over the holidays, maybe think about what you want the top two besides career to look like. When they're ideal, kind of what are the benchmarks? When my health and fitness is ideal, I'm drinking my water, I'm cooking my own food, I'm packing my food when I'm traveling, I'm getting exercise in. Yeah, there's alcohol, but maybe there needs to be a little less alcohol. 1 glass of wine instead of more. Um, think about what's really important to you. And when that's ideal, what does that look like? Because that gives you something to move towards. That gives you something that you can achieve. So who do you need to be in order to bring this vision to fruition by the end of next year? Think about what that means to you. And to even go beyond that, this is the framework that I give my clients. Start, stop, and stay. What are you going to start doing that will help move you towards that vision of who you want to be at the end of next year? What will you stop doing that will help you move towards that vision of who you want to be at the end of next year? What will you stay doing? It's working, so don't lose that momentum. What are you going to stay and bring with you in order to become that person that you want to be by the end of next year? Because the thing is, it doesn't matter what I think. This is you and this is your life. So your answers are the only ones that are important. And I will tell you that you have so much more influence than you think you did. You know, I remember going into that training on mindset and coming out of it and how things shifted for me as a result of it, as a result of the way that I thought about who and what I was and what I wanted to be. And the thing is, that's where the power lies, is within your own answers. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And when you start getting this sort of clarity, you start building up your influence to be able to affect it. For me, the effect of that was those symptoms and those medicines went away, which was huge. But the other thing beyond that were three things that I learned as a result of it. And the first thing was I was the one who was the most in my own way. I was not willing to look at my life. I just wanted to avoid it. But it wasn't until I gave myself permission to think about it that I really understood I had so much more ability to affect the outcome than I thought I did. I was in charge. I was in the driver's seat. And I never was willing to put myself there before. I also realized, second thing is I am not the only one who chases everything and ends up exhausted. The third thing I realized is I was meant to pay it forward. And that is my why. That is my reason for my business. That is why I do what I do. So, you know, the same applies to you. When you are willing to put yourself in the driver's seat, that is when things have an opportunity to change. Sabrina, thank you so much for being here. So, any questions from you? What is it that's kind of running through your mind that you want a little more clarity on? Or maybe you want to know a specific input around something in your work or in your life. So if you've got any questions, feel free to come off of mute or type it in the chat if you want. Or, you know, if this is something that's maybe a little sensitive, just email me. I'm at Debbie Peterson Speaks. That's my email address. Reach out if I can help you. And this is a QR code that does two things. One, it gives me feedback so that I know the work that I'm doing is relevant because I want to continue serving. That is so much of how I'm wired and gives meaning to me in the work that I get to do in my life. The second thing it does is it gives you some additional questions to say, okay, if I want to go another level in my leadership or my life or my work, then what are the questions that I really need to ponder in order to get clarity on that direction? So there is a gift with this to say thank you for spending some time with me and for your willingness to give feedback. So you can take a look at that. And then this QR code links you to everything that I have. I publish content on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. I have a podcast, just you name it. So I'm always trying to share information in different mediums that help people get that clarity on their next level. But if there's any questions, let me know. Vision for 2025, a better communicator, wonderful, more assertive, more confidence of what I bring to the table in both family and work. I'm such a people pleaser and peacemaker, so I tend to put myself in the back seat more for others. Okay, all right. So do you see your start and stop and stay perhaps in that statement?
Yes.
So, Leela, right? Okay. So a better communicator. That is what we call an AIM goal. It's a higher level, lofty, just gives us sort of direction to move towards. Here's what I'd like you to consider. How will you know when you've achieved it? How will you know that you've become a better communicator? So think about that. Because what has to happen in order for you to become a better communicator, there has to be some end goals in there. Okay, I am going to work on being an active listener instead of a passive listener. And I'm going to make sure in each of the meetings that, in my conversations, that I'm going through the active listening principles. Okay. And that gets a little more granular. And, you know, perhaps it is to be a better communicator. I'm going to learn more about the people that I work with. Because different personalities, different preferences, people communicate differently. So if you know more about the people, if you connect with the people as people, then it allows you to know how they prefer to communicate. So think about some of those things that need to be underneath it. More assertive. What does that mean to you? You know, are there some specific instances? And the same thing, more confidence. Confidence in my book is contextual. You know, in the kitchen, I got a lot of confidence, right? On stage, I have a lot of confidence. But if I'm going into a new environment with new people, I kind of hold back. I don't have as much confidence. Now, as I get to know those people, my confidence may build. As I get to, you know, learn something brand new, I don't have much confidence, but the more I do it and the more I get proficient at it, the more confident I am. So confidence can be contextual. Think about what areas you want to be confident in, more confident in. Is it all areas or is it some very specific areas? Tanya, you are welcome. Oh, good deal. Bring on 2025. You're in the driver's seat. So if there are any questions, put them in the chat or hop off. But I'm here for you. If there's anything that I can help you with, I am happy to. If I can be of good service to you or any one of your organizations, please reach out and let me know. But thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking this time for you, because that's what
Yeah,
it's
and
about.
thank you for hosting this, Debbie. This was such a great session. This is our last webinar of the year, so this was a
Oh, good
great way
deal.
to end it. We really appreciate your time, and of course, everyone who attended and participated as
And it's
well.
recorded, so you can go back to it too, if you want
Yes,
to chew on these
absolutely.
questions.
Yep,
So,
we'll share the recording afterwards as well.
yeah. Well, be good to yourselves, especially during the holiday season. Give yourself some grace
Yes,
and, you know,
absolutely.
kick butt in the new year. Stay in touch. You know, follow me on social media or hop on my newsletter list. I'd love to stay in touch with you, but thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and thanks everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Take care. Bye-bye for now.